From Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. It's Tuesday, August 20th. Coming up, we'll hear parts of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's speech at the Democratic National Convention yesterday and what he says it'll take for him to run for a third term. That story in just a few minutes, but first, these headlines. A local church in Danville is eliminating its status of a food desert. IPM's May Antar has more.
Heavenly Square Grocery is owned by the pastor of New Life Church of Faith, Thomas Miller. Longtime resident Versi Dyson Spites bumped into him outside the store the day after its grand opening.
Pastor Miller, y'all have sold out what I need. I said, y'all have sold out what I need.
What did you need?
Some turkey. Now I got to go way across town.
Prior to Heavenly Square, the closest grocery store to get fresh produce and meat was miles away. Miller says it's why he dreamed of opening a store here.
It brings the fresh food. It brings the produce. It brings the meat, the potatoes, and the convenience.
The store was established with a 5-year, $5 million grant from the state and federal health initiative. May Antar, IPM News.
U.S. Senator Dick Durbin was among a few Illinoisans to take the stage at the DNC last night with a rallying cry for labor unions. Mawa Iqbal reports.
Labor groups were a central theme for Monday night's program at the Democratic National Convention. Leaders from unions like the AFL-CIO took the stage, while delegates waved signs that read, "Unions Yes." Senator Durbin, whose parents worked in the railroad industry, says Vice President Kamala Harris will fight to bring back manufacturing jobs.
There's joy in this battle. When we win, we help people buy their first homes, send their kids to college, and retire with dignity.
Durbin spoke in the early hours of the convention and comes as a senator, approaching 80, has not said whether he'll seek re-election. I'm Mawa Iqbal.
Students from across the country and from Chicago joined the march on the DNC yesterday to demand the U.S. stop sending aid to Israel. They say they want the country to spend that money on public education instead. Jeremiah Munoz is a rising junior at the University of Illinois Chicago and a member of Students for a Democratic Society. He says he hopes older generations hear their message.
Many like to say, the students, they'll always be riled up about something or they'll always, find something to complain about. But historically, we've seen that students have always been the catalyst to something greater.
Like civil rights, Munoz says. He and other members of Students for a Democratic Society marched on the DNC yesterday and will march again on Thursday. It was day one of the Democratic National Convention yesterday, and Illinois delegates kicked off the festivities with fiery speeches, surprise guests, and some cat puns. Each morning, Illinois Democrats are gathering in downtown Chicago to rally before each day's events. Alex Degman and Tessa Weinberg have more from the first breakfast of the week. Alex starts things off.
At a ballroom in the Royal Sonesta in downtown Chicago, the air is festive. Balloon sculptures resemble the American and Chicago flags, and there's even a coconut tree, a nod to Kamala Harris's speech that turned into a viral meme. It's all to celebrate the Democratic Party's presidential ticket. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says Kamala Harris and Tim Walz go together
like a pairing of a great craft beer from Illinois with the tastiest Chicago hot dog.
House Speaker Chris Welch says Illinois Democrats are ready to play a historic role, like they did when Barack Obama was elected president.
And we're going to do it again with a woman whose uniquely American story also included a childhood in Evanston and Urbana. I bet you guys didn't know that about Kamala Harris.
I'm Tessa Weinberg. Joining Illinois' delegation was a special guest who was a hop, skip, and a jump from her home state of Minnesota, First Lady Gwen Walz.
Good morning, Illinois! You are my Monday morning first period. We're going to school today, stop!
It's been just 2 weeks since her husband, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, was announced as Harris's running mate. Walz took the moment to introduce herself to the room packed with Illinois delegates.
I'm a retired military spouse. Right now I'm the First Lady of Minnesota, which is a pretty good gig. Yeah. And for so much of my life, I've been an educator.
The Walzes met each other in a Nebraska classroom, and she says that's where they discovered their shared belief that education can be transformative.
And one of the things I love most about Tim is that he believes in his very core so strongly that every child deserves a chance to get ahead.
Walz encouraged people to, quote, do the work in front of you, to turn out the vote.
But Terry O'Sullivan was more blunt. He's the former president of the Laborers International Union of North America.
This sexist, racist, draft-dodging, lying son of a has got to go once and for all. We not only have to win, we have to kick his all the way back to Mar-a-Lago, put a fork in him, and end Donald Trump's presence in our country, in our world, brothers and sisters.
New Jersey Senator Cory Booker closed out the morning. He jumped on a chair to get the crowd going and even worked in some cat jokes.
Now, I happen to be part of those childless cat people in America.
His quip was in reference to Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance's previous comments describing Democrats as childless cat ladies. But Booker had more where that came from.
You all are catastic. You all are clawsome. These dad jokes are perfect. Come on, Executive Director, I had to do this. What do you call a guy like me with no kids that still tells dad jokes? You call him a faux pas. Oh, the pain in this room is palpable. Is palpable.
Jokes aside, Booker says the stakes are high come Election Day.
And let us tell a story. We rose to the challenge. We met the obstacles that we overcame, that we fought, because when we fight, thank you, Illinois, thank you.
But U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth says while the kids are energized, it's still important to, quote, make sure that all the coconuts get out there and vote. I'm Tessa Weinberg.
And I'm Alex Degman.
Illinois Public Media will comprehensively cover this week's Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Listen to interviews with Illinois leaders during the 21st show Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. on AM 580 and 6 p.m. on FM 90.9. On weeknights at 7, you can watch coverage of the DNC on WILL TV and listen on AM 580. We also have pictures and stories on ipmnewsroom.org. Still to come, we'll hear parts of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's speech at the DNC yesterday and what he says it'll take for him to run for a third term. That story is coming up next on 217 Today.
Next time on the 21st show, we'll have the latest from the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, including an update on protests and how one group of Americans, left and right, are working to bridge some of our deepest political divides. I'm Brian Mackey, and that's next time on the 21st show. Join us.
You're listening to 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. There was more out of yesterday morning's breakfast event from Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who's given hints about his own political plans and whether he should run for a third term. Dave McKinney reports.
While everyone at the breakfast rally gathered to win the White House for their own party, Pritzker addressed something that's been the subject of chatter and gossip lately, whether he plans to run for governor again in 2026. But first, he covered a little history.
It seems crazy, but it's true that when I serve out just the end of this second term, I will be the longest serving Democratic governor in the history of Illinois. So I'm not suggesting that I want to try to beat Jim Thompson's 14-year record.
Big Jim Thompson was the late four-term Republican governor who served from the 1970s through the early 1990s. Like Pritzker, he flirted with taking his political career to Washington. In Pritzker's case, he was in the running to be Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate. But now that she chose someone else to appear in the ticket, it brings renewed interest into what Pritzker thinks his political future should hold, and it appears First Lady M.K. Pritzker could be a deciding factor.
She is my term limit, so if all of you want to talk to her and convince her one way or another, by the way, you're welcome to do that.
The billionaire Democrat has a lot going for him if he does run. He has a solid record. He has an endless ability to self-finance a campaign. Illinois is squarely a Democratic state, with the party holding every statewide constitutional office, both U.S. Senate seats, and supermajorities in Springfield. And right now, there's no obvious GOP challenger in his way to a third term. For those reasons, a lot of people in his own party, like U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth, want him to stick around.
I'm really excited with what he's done and the work that he's done also with the state legislature. The partnership there has really allowed our state to come forward in terms of, being a bastion for reproductive health care, for raising the minimum wage, all the stuff that we've done for working families. So I urge him to run again.
And here's Tim Dre, president of the Illinois AFL-CIO, the giant coalition of labor unions.
In labor, we don't give endorsements. Candidates are, people earn them. He certainly earned it. I mean, we'd be happy to have J.B. Pritzker run again.
M.K. Pritzker wasn't at today's delegation breakfast, but Illinois House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch thinks he has some insight into her thinking about her husband's political plans.
I've had an opportunity to kind of lobby his wife a few times and say, hey, I'd love for him to go for a third term. And I think I got a smile and a wink and an okay that he could do that. And so I'm certainly hoping that he continues to be our governor.
Until Pritzker says so himself, that may be the best clue Illinois voters have on his next move. A smile and a wink. This is Dave McKinney.
And finally, in your forecast, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard says today will be sunny with a high of 73 degrees. That's it for today. 2 and 7 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by May Antar, Mawa Iqbal, Lisa Kurian Phillip, Alex Stegman, Tessa Weinberg, and Dave McKinney. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. I'm Kimberly Schofield. 2 and 7 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.